Let's see if I can get this in one take. Hi, my name is Justin Bishop, and in today's video, we're going to be going through some LeetCode. I'm practicing data structures and algorithms for preparation for my interviews as I'm graduating in a couple months from NSCC COGS in Nova Scotia. Taking the IT programming course. It's a 2-year program, so I'm almost finished, and I need to practice my data structures, so we're on LeetCode today. We are doing problem 1343. Number of subarrays of size k and average greater than or equal to threshold. So in the research that I've been doing on data structures and algorithms, we have classes in the program at NSCC that does data structure stuff. But I need to learn more because it's always better to do your own thing on the outside of school, because school isn't going to teach you everything. You need to take it upon yourself to learn. So LeetCode, I guess you clicked the video so you know what LeetCode is, but for those that are new to LeetCode and new to data structures and algorithms, LeetCode is essentially a problems list of easy to medium to hard questions. They give you a word problem like this, and then you code it up on this side and you submit it. And from my experience, they're quite wordy and complex. This is a medium. So let's just jump right into it. Before we jump into it, LeetCode has a bunch of questions, over 2,000 questions right now, and I've started maybe 6 months ago just doing some easies, but I don't want to waste my time just doing random questions because it looks like foreign language. If you're reading this stuff for the first time, it's very confusing. So in order to not waste time, and your efforts are going to give you back the greatest return, there are patterns that you can remember. And one of those patterns for this type of question is called a sliding window, and it's used on linear structures. And essentially what it is you have a window that moves down the array, and you perform certain calculations on that window, and you're checking against the threshold, like this question says. So sliding window is just a way to perform calculations on an array as it moves down the list. So let's just start this. And I have done this question before, so I'm hoping I don't get hung up on this. I'm trying to make a video as it's good practice for interview prep. So anyway, enough talking. Let's read this. Given an array of integers r, which is in the function, and two integers k and threshold, return the number of subarrays of size k. Subarrays of size k and average greater than or equal to threshold. So I usually read this 2 or 3 times. So given an array of integers r and two integers k and threshold, return the number of subarrays of size k. So you're looking for a string inside of, or a contiguous set of indexes side by side as you move down the array. So you're looking for a subarray of this length, of k length, where its average is greater than or equal to the threshold, which is hard-coded into the example of threshold of 4. Length of 3, threshold of 4. So I gotta keep checking if I'm still recording. Okay. So we've read the question. We can code it up. I would do some pseudocode first, but I just want to show you what this can look like. So this is essentially what we're looking at. this is our array of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 length, but its index is 0, so your last slot is 7. So essentially what a sliding window is you're on this one, you're iterating on this slot here. So a sliding window is essentially a window like this. And you want to perform certain actions on this window in here, which in the question it says that we want to make sure the subarray, so this is the subarray, the window, is greater than or equal to threshold. So greater than or equal to 4, the average. So 2, 2, 2 is 6, divide 3 is 2. So the average is 2. So this does not satisfy the threshold. So I should mention, to even get to this third point, we need to iterate 3 times through the loop, which we're going to code, because say you're on your second iteration and your window is only this big, it's not going to satisfy because it's not a 3 length. So we got to think about how wide that window is. And really it only matters after this first 3. After that, we just keep moving down the line. So say on this window size here, when we go to, how do we move this window down? So we need to add this here to the window, and we need to drop this. So your window is moving down this way. So that's essentially what a sliding window is. So let's just start pseudocoding it. So, okay. So the first thing is we're going to need a counter, because that's going to count how many times this window, for example, is going to have an average greater than 4. Right? So however many of these windows has an average greater than 4, we add it to a counter. So we're going to need a counter, and we're going to need a sum, because we're going to have to use that sum to calculate the average on the window later in the if statement. I've done this question before, so I kind of know. I'm hoping that I don't get hung up, especially recording a video. So we're going to need a counter, we're going to need a sum. We're going to need to iterate through the array. So we're going to need to actually build the array, or build the window. So we need to build the sliding window. And that's going to iterate through each step, and based on what index you're on, you're either going to have to pop off or add that front. You're going to need to add, like, say this is the window, you need to add this and subtract this each time you move down through the array. So add that one, subtract that one, so that you have a length of 3 here. So we're going to need a for loop probably here. And then inside the for loop, we're going to need to, you're going to have to make sure the k, the length of the window is k, which is 3. So we always need to make sure that is happening. What else do we need to do? We need to, the length of the window is 3, but if it is 3 and the average is greater than the threshold, we need to add that window to the counter. So length of 3 and greater than threshold. So we need to add counter, add to counter. So I think that's essentially how this problem goes. So let's start coding it. So we have a counter. So we have a counter, int, counter. We need to initialize that to 0. We have a sum of the window. So each time the window slides, we're going to need to perform if it's greater than the threshold. So we need a sum of the items. And I'll show you how this works later in the question. Current sum, which is an int, initialized to 0. Okay, so we have a counter, we have sum. So we need to start the for loop, which actually uses the 2 if statements below that I'll show you. So we have an int I equals 0, and we want it to iterate through the array until it, as long as it is less than the array dot size. In other words, the length of the array is less, I is less than the length of the array, and then I iterates up each time. Whoops. Hopefully this keeps recording. Okay, so we're in the loop now. I guess I should put this stuff inside the loop. So the first thing we need to do is instantly add the current index to the sum. So say you're on this, we need to add that 2 to the window, right? So we need to add current sum. We need to add the current index of whatever we're on. So we need to add that. To the current sum. So right now we got 2 in there. So down here, this is where we validate if the window is 3 of length k. So I needs to be less than or equal to k. If that, so if I is less than or equal to k, we need to okay, I is less than or equal to k. I think we need to current sum. We need to remove I is less than or equal to k. We need to remove, yeah, this is where we have to pop off that first where's this? I think this is greater. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So on the 4th iteration, we're here. So we have a window here. We're on the, or third iteration from index 0. So we're adding this. We already have this. We need to remove this. So if I is greater than k, so if I is greater than 3, if I is greater than 3, we need to remove that first one. So we need to remove error of I minus k. I'll show you why right here. Let me make this bigger. So what does this mean? What is I minus k? So the way this window works is it's constantly calculating a sum of these. So I minus k, say we're here and we want to add this. So I minus k. So we're on the third index. Minus k is 3. So 3 minus 3 is 0, right? I minus k equals 0 in this slot here. Because we're on index 3, k is 3. So 3 minus 3 is 0. So that 0 index of the array, this is what we pop out of the sum. We want to remove that index 0 from the current sum calculation. So that current sum we're building all the time, we remove the first one, which is index 0, 3 minus 3. That was the confusing part for me on this. And so we've added the new one, which is this. And if I is greater than k, so if I is greater than k, which is 3, or equal, in this case it is equal, then it knows that this was your previous, you're adding this one, and you're removing this one from this statement here, if I is greater than equal to k. Right, so you just moved your window up. Congratulations. So let's move on to the next part, which is another validation that focuses more on this first part. Like, you need to make sure the window is at least of 2, right? So that's the third slot. That would be a length of k at index 2. So this next part here, if I is greater than or equal to k minus 1. The reason for this k minus 1 on this is that we want to make sure this first initialization of the window has at least 3 in it. So k minus 1, what is k minus 1? 3 minus 1 is 2, right? 2. K minus 1 equals 2. 3 minus 1 equals 2, which is this slot. This is the initialization of the window. So the first if is if it's greater than k, which means as you move down the line, you're popping off that bottom. This if statement just initializes the start. Once you're at 3, you're good to go. But we also want to check if the window is 3 of length, and this, if it is 3 of length, we want to calculate the average of the window. So how do we calculate the average? We have the current sum divide k, because the sum divided 3 would give you the average, right? The sum divided 3 is the average, which is k. And we also want to make sure that it's greater than or equal to the threshold, right? That's the whole purpose of the question. Return a number of subarrays of size k and average greater than or equal to threshold. So if that window average is 2, does 2 beat 4? No, 2 is less than 4, so we need to move up to the next window. We don't count this one. This is also the average of 2. This one here, well, these would be popped off. And you keep moving up. 1, 2, 3. You keep moving up. Cross that one off. You keep moving up. Cross this one off. And you're calculating the average on each one and making sure it's greater than or equal to 4. And each window you add to counter. So that's exactly what this is going to do. And I think I'm missing some brackets here. So in this statement, it's just literally add to counter. So counter increment if it is greater than threshold. And then outside the for loop, we're done. So I got brackets everywhere. Where is my for loop there? So return counter. Okay. Let's see if it runs. There we go. I was lucky. I was lucky, boys. Submit. Let's see how it does. And this is a good example of, as you can see, this solution doesn't use any packages. It uses size. There's no built-in functions other than this one. You're literally going through the array with basic fundamental data structure and algorithm knowledge. There's nothing special going on here. So you can take this to any language, which is what the best solutions usually have, because as long as you have the logic, you should be able to code up that solution in any language. So it doesn't really matter what language that you're using. So that's the video, I guess. I got through it in one take. This is a sliding window, and the description, this is number 1343 on LeetCode, number of subarrays. So anytime you see subarrays, think subarrays. You got a list, and you got a list inside of that list. So, and then it also asks, you're calculating some type of function or calculation inside of that subarray. So when you see these things line up, it's usually a sliding window, and most sliding windows operate the same. So you move up and down, or in this case up, your array and perform calculation on it and return the counter at the end. So that was my solution. Thanks for watching, and Peace out.